Today we're looking at the history of Thanksgiving. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Each year in the United States, on the fourth Thursday of November, we celebrate Thanksgiving. This holiday traces its roots to before really the United States was even a nation, and much of its history ties directly to important events in American history. As just about every elementary student learned in kindergarten, first or second grade, the first Thanksgiving was celebrated by the Pilgrims in Massachusetts in November of 1621. To find out more about the Pilgrims, you can check out my other video devoted just strictly to the Pilgrims. But in their first year in America, the Pilgrims had a tough go of it, with half of them dying in the first year after arriving in the New World. If not for the generosity of the Wampanoag tribe in the area, the Pilgrims might not have survived. The celebration in November of 1621 was a 3-day festival to celebrate their first successful harvest, and many of the Wampanoag attended, including the Wampanoag chief Massasoit. At this first Thanksgiving, they did not eat stuffing or pumpkin pie like we think of today. More than likely, the menu included things such as, some turkey, but also deer, oysters, lobster, and geese. The Pilgrims again celebrated Days of Thanks in 1623 to celebrate the end of a drought in the region. From there, Thanksgiving kind of became very random. Governors of each colony, especially in New England and the Middle colonies, would call for days of Thanksgiving to give thanks to God for blessings such as, the colony receiving a good harvest or maybe a victory in battle or, other events to celebrate. It wasn't until the American Revolution that we begin to see more of a national trend towards the holiday. On November 1st, 1777, the Continental Congress called for a day of Thanksgiving across all the colonies in celebration of the American victory over the British at the Battle of Saratoga. After the Revolutionary War was over, President George Washington called for a day of Thanksgiving in 1789 to give thanks for the American victory in the Revolution, but also for the approval of the new U.S. Constitution. With Washington setting so many precedents, other early U.S. presidents also called for days of Thanksgiving, but still, no date was officially set for the holiday. But then came along Sarah Josepha Hale, who was the author of the children's poem Mary Had a Little Lamb, but also fought for women's education and was instrumental in preserving George Washington's home, Mount Vernon, as a historic site. Hale was a magazine editor and is sometimes called the mother of Thanksgiving because starting in the mid 1820s, she began writing articles arguing for the United States to declare an official Thanksgiving holiday. She had grown up in New Hampshire and had celebrated the Thanksgiving holiday every year growing up, so she felt like the entire nation should take part in this holiday as well. So for over 30 years, she continued arguing for the holiday and writing letters to governors, Congress, and presidents, urging them to designate the holiday. All of her work eventually paid off in 1863 during the Civil War. During the American Civil War, over 620,000 Americans died in the conflict. During the first 2 years of the war, the Union suffered setback after setback. And so in the aftermath of the major Union victories at Gettysburg and Vicksburg, which is considered by many to be the turning point of the war, President Abraham Lincoln called for a day of Thanksgiving. In Lincoln's Thanksgiving proclamation, he asked Americans to thank God and, quote, commend to his tender care all those who have become widows, orphans, mourners, or sufferers in this lamentable civil strife, and to heal the wounds of the nation. As the 1800s came to an end and the 1900s were ushered in, Thanksgiving took on a very economic role. As the consumer economy of the United States really began to boom, Thanksgiving became the kickoff to the Christmas shopping season. So Thanksgiving remained the last Thursday in November until President Franklin Roosevelt moved it up 1 week in 1939 to try to extend the holiday shopping season and spur the economy that was trying to recover from the Great Depression. Many were upset about the move and began calling Thanksgiving Franksgiving. So in 1941, Roosevelt moved Thanksgiving to the fourth Thursday in November, and there it has remained. The holiday grew bigger throughout the early to mid 1900s as Macy's department store introduced the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade as a way to try to attract customers in 1924. It now has become a holiday tradition that hundreds of thousands attend in New York City and millions watch at home. So, no matter what you do this Thanksgiving, stop and think about the history behind the holiday. But more importantly, stop and appreciate the family and friends celebrating with you and give thanks for all we have to be thankful for. So, with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.